On Monday, June 29th, all the way through July of 2027, Jupiter, the great benefic planet who is the teacher, the guide, the guru, signifies abundance, protection, and even the law, is going into the shiny, sun-ruled, limelight-seeking sign of Leo, where it will soon be joined, at least by co-presence, by the South Node at the end of this month. On the 27th, that's when that happens, where they will then spend the year of Jupiter's tenure in Leo together, activating through the eclipses in the Leo house of your natal chart. And I am so incredibly excited for this transit because while Jupiter, yes, is the greater benefic because of its slow movement and its archetypal associations with protection, which it actually literally does by way of protecting Earth from the asteroid belt, it does tend to expand whatever it touches. And when we have expansion in the watery sign of Cancer, nostalgia, the home, and symbols related to mothering, sometimes that can be a little intense and a little much. At least it has been for me. So Jupiter going into a fire sign might bring some more fiery energy and volatility to the public stage for sure, especially as one of the very first things it's going to do is oppose Pluto in Aquarius, which we'll talk about in a second. But it is sure to give us personally some relief from that deep emotional, watery, boundarylessness and depth, and bring us the energy of play. It will help to liberate our inner child and inner children parts. It'll expand the healing themes in our life, and in its highest form, allow wisdom and spiritual insight to win the day over our need for egoic control in our life. In this video, I'm going to describe all the major transits that you must know ahead of time that Jupiter is going to make for the next year and what to expect, as well as how to allow this time to really support you authentically shining brightly your light in the world through laughter, joy, and playfulness. Hi, I'm Amy Rose White. I'm an integrative psychotherapist and astrologer. I've been doing that for a couple decades, and I make YouTube videos with concrete healing tools that align with the astrological transits. Please see all my free healing resource guides linked below, as well as my Chiron and Taurus Healing Kit on my website, and links to book consultations with me. I do have a few spots left in July. So while Jupiter is known for making things larger, emphasizing them, and providing an abundance, of energy in whatever area it's touching. And it does tend to bring spiritual protection and the avoidance of the worst case outcome. While it does that, it can also amplify some of Leo's more juvenile needs to be the most important person in the room, or the prettiest one at the party, or to be special to the point of losing touch with our core essence, which is really what Jupiter actually exemplifies and wants for us the most, because the guru, the teacher Jupiter, really is spiritual wisdom and wise counsel. So where we might be tempted with Jupiter and Leo to get a little too fiery with our need to be in the limelight, obviously I'm someone that likes that myself. I pulled out my best Jupiter and Leo outfit. But where we might, be overemphasizing that need to be special and be seen, we can also reclaim our power by virtue of that upcoming Jupiter-Pluto opposition, that power that might have been diminished around the fear of being seen, and to reclaim a sense that it is safe to be special. It is safe to be authentically expressing ourselves. It's safe now to shine brightly, and it's safe to allow ourselves to be full and who we really are without fear of rejection, loss, abandonment, or betrayal. So it's not that fear is going to be just like evaporated or dispelled just because Jupiter is there. It's more that it is going to give us the courage to know that risk is always a possibility, and to open up through that fear and do the thing, say the thing, wear the thing, be big and bold in your own unique way, even though we are taking a risk. And we might not be liked. We might not be seen as special. We might be seen as lame, foolish, silly, and not chosen. Leo really wants to be chosen and to be known as uniquely special. So we have a year of learning. Jupiter is very much a teacher, to be special enough to ourselves, to connect with the core essence of who we really are. And Leo ruled by the sun, and the sun is the essence of who we are. It's a flame that cannot be extinguished. Who we really truly are is a soul that never dies. Who we are is beyond rejection, abandonment, betrayal, being made fun of, or being thought of as silly or shallow. I recently talked in one of my videos about someone accusing me of being too focused on my appearance, which I could only assume was based on the fact that I wear my sequins and, bright things in all of my videos, because I have so much and I just need a place to wear this. So it's knowing that people will say that and they'll think that, and wearing them anyway if you love that. Jupiter is very much about the courage of the heart to live large and to love large. People who have significant personal planets in Leo really like demonstrations of affection and adoration. The grand gesture. We have no problem with that. I say we because my Venus is in Leo. And Leos are not going to shine away from the spotlight, even if it's scary for them. They'll tend to do it anyway. And one of the most wonderful things about this transit is that it's really about the energy of loyalty to self, not in a selfish way. Leos are typically seriously loyal, incredibly loyal and devoted, if not poorly aspected in the chart. But if that loyalty to self gets amplified, it allows us to release those wounds that we have around fears of true intimacy. And that first gets highlighted pretty soon out the gates when Jupiter trines Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees and opposes Pluto in Aquarius at 4 degrees and sextiles Neptune at 4. So note that this basket formation is now perfecting with those trines and sextiles and the opposition between Pluto and Jupiter. So now by July 20th, that's when all these aspects get perfected and the handle of that basket formation is in place and stays for a bit. This is the basket formation astrologers have been talking about for the last couple of years, and it's so important. I have a separate video coming on that basket formation, but for now I want you to understand, really focused on the year-long transit of Jupiter and Leo and its initial opposition with Pluto. With those sextiles, that is an opportunity for liberation and a course correction and a karmic resolution with our fears of deep intimacy and sexual power, Pluto. Leo is, after all, associated with romance and creativity and joy. So we're not only talking about the willingness to be seen in the world and to be bold and more daring, and not only or maybe even at all in what we wear, that just happens to be my personal expression or part of it, but with what we say and what we think and what we express and how we play, what we engage in that brings us pleasure and joy. We're very likely to have a karmic unwinding around past life injuries and present life injuries related to being seen, because Jupiter in the Jupiter-Pluto opposition is a relationship that can actually be a power couple. And the highest octave for a Jupiter-Pluto opposition for me is actually a power couple, is developing a power couple within ourselves. If we are deeply devoted and loyal to loving ourselves well and seeing, penetrating deeply, that's Pluto, into our own psyches, meaning that we don't turn away from the less attractive intrapsychic parts, or our so-called, negative feelings, or on the physical, parts of our bodies, our faces that we judge as not good enough or not attractive enough or not sexy or sexual enough. If we choose to turn towards ourselves with love and compassion and curiosity, and we intentionally practice opening through the tendency to judge and to nitpick ourselves, and to be open through those voices of self-hatred, which most of us have, and we do the playful thing anyway. We look into the eyes of the people we love anyway. We put ourselves in the environment. We take that class we've always wanted to take, but we thought we wouldn't be good at, or we thought we were too old to do. To take the attitude of, I'm going to do it anyway. That is the power of a Pluto opposition in the very first month of this transit that can really set the stages for the rest of this year to leave us deeply transformed around all the places when as children we were not able to play, where we perhaps had to become the parent, or we took on extra responsibilities, or maybe we decided we were going to be studious and responsible instead of childish because that got us more acceptance or approval, or perhaps it was just necessary because someone literally had to make food and pay the bills. So we start the first months of this transit with that opposition and the sextile to Uranus, which right away we will feel a shift internally or externally or both. And then we have a new synodic cycle starting with Mercury conjunct Jupiter at 10 degrees on August 15th, right as eclipse season is getting going. And that will reinvigorate and reset our mental processes and those core beliefs and thought loops related to, is it really safe to be playful? Is it safe to be silly? What will happen if I'm loud and bright? Is it safe to make a mistake? So many of us, even in midlife, are so afraid to make mistakes. Children, when they're not abused, feel really safe to try new things that they might not necessarily be good at and that they will likely make mistakes with, because that is learning, and that's part of really the pleasure of doing something. So that Mercury-Jupiter conjunction will set us up for new thoughts, new attitudes, and literally new things we are going to say, think, and express creatively, especially if you're an artist of any kind in the world. Then we'll have Jupiter trine Saturn at the end of August, and on November 11th, Jupiter will conjoin the South Node and oppose the North Node in Aquarius at 25 degrees and 29 minutes. This is a big one to me. We have a release point karmically where fated events and romance, creative endeavors, parenting, raising children, maybe our children themselves, and areas of spiritual study around the healers in our lives. There's a letting go and a kind of cosmic rectification occurring with Jupiter on the South Node. Remember, Jupiter wants to expand what it touches. And releasing doesn't always mean negative. And it can even mean releasing blocks to meeting the people you're supposed to meet or doing the thing you're meant to do. And it actually means with the eclipses that we get in August, we're likely to see the fruition, if you don't see it right away at eclipse time, when Jupiter conjoins the South Node, because we'll have had a Leo eclipse on the 12th of August at 20 degrees. We're likely to see that culmination around that Jupiter South Node release point that may amplify the themes of violence in the world. I hope that's not true, because shortly thereafter, on the 15th, Mars will conjoin Jupiter and oppose the North Node. That's content for another day. It's really going to be felt in our lived lives what fated, destined occurrences are meant for us in the Leo area of our chart by virtue of that Jupiter South Node conjunction. And then finally, we have Jupiter stationing retrograde on December 12th at 27 degrees of Leo. So there will be a review of these themes of courage, creativity, expressiveness, and our core vitality. How are we loyal to ourselves? And how do we still betray ourselves? Where are we willing to be seen in true, deep intimacy? Remember, when the very first transit that cooks together the stew of Jupiter in Leo is in opposition to Pluto, depth, power, and a positive sense of control on its highest vibration in that retrograde period will show us where the work has been done and what is left to be done, because that retrograde is going to last for a long time, all the way from December 11, 12, 13th, 2026 to April 13th of 2027. So we'll get plenty of time to review the changes, the epiphanies, the sudden ahas, and the radical changes via those eclipses that are coming into our lives in the Leo and Aquarius areas. So my invitation to you is that you see this transit as a time of accelerated healing, especially of inner child parts, and then gain the spiritual wisdom of the heart. My teacher always brings us back to the heart. And one of my best friends, Cindy, has always told me for the last 20 years, when I've been grasping at straws, not knowing what to do, she always asks me, what does your heart say? When I just want her to tell me what to do, she always asks, what does your heart say? That is very good advice. It is a tale as old as time, but it's really important that we listen deeply. Jupiter, wisdom, wise counsel, our gurus, our teachers, they listen more than they teach. The very best teachers are really, truly excellent listeners. And our job with Jupiter and Leo is to listen. Listen to the truest wisdom of our heart. What does the heart actually really want now at this stage of our life? Where does it light up? What would truly make us happy? Where is it a big yes for us in our bodies? And where have we stepped over when our heart closes, contracts, or otherwise, tells us no? But we want to make a logical decision or a practical one, or we want to please other people and we're afraid of disappointing or letting others down. Now is the time to be willing to listen and heed the wisdom and the courage of our ever-beating, omnipresent, miraculous heart. So the meditation and reflection, something to really consider and think about for this transit of Jupiter and Leo for the next year is, what would I say yes to if I completely allowed myself to play? The mirror work, sit up straight, deep breath, left eye for Jupiter and Leo is, it is safe to burn brighter than you ever have before. And your mantra for this transit is, I'm willing to love like a child again. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hyping, sharing, liking, Every subscribe really counts to me. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here. I love the community that is down in the comments section. Please check out my free resources below. These videos above, if you like this one, you'll like those, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.